Coming up on Up at Noon, here's what we think Solo's about based on these new Star Wars toys. Avengers 4 is untitled, let's title it. And oh, by the way, Japan is weaponizing cats. This is serious, folks. All that and more right now on Up at Noon Live.
Hello and welcome to Up at Noon. I'm Brian Altano. This is Max Scoville.
Hello.
A very big week for you. Up at Noon, if it's your first time watching, this is our weekly variety show here at IGN. Airs on IGN, Twitch, Roku, Apple TV, Xbox One, PS4, Facebook, Ripple, Ronin, and Pear Fist.
Yeah, we don't actually know where it airs because we host it. We
That's
don't
right.
watch it. It just goes up into places, and we, sometimes see people chatting with us and
That's
saying
true.
things. We've actually got live chat open on Twitch and on YouTube, I believe, and people are real riled up about the headline we got for this episode. We want to talk a little bit. We'll get going in a second. We got some other stuff to talk about later in the show. But when will the Marvel Cinematic Universe have its big divisive movie?
Right. And so when we ask what will be sort of the MCU's Last Jedi, your gut reaction is, depending on if you like The Last Jedi, anger, or if you didn't like it, frustration. There might be some divide there. And I think that's important to say that The Last Jedi, you probably don't want to hear about it again, but it was a critical success. It was a commercial success, though not by any means as big as The Force Awakens was, which was the triumphant return of a dormant franchise that was world dominant. But if you look at the audience and critic score and stuff like that, there's a divide there, right? I liked it, you liked it. There's some problems with the movie that I have, obviously.
Put it this way, I totally understand why people were upset with how it turned out.
Completely understand that.
We both enjoyed it. I think there's a thing going on right now where people are just like, if you like The Last Jedi, you're not a real Star Wars fan. I'm like, well, there was a point in time where we're like, oh, if you like the prequels, you're not a real Star Wars fan.
Right.
There's a lot of different, Star Wars has gotten big enough that there's a lot of different angles to look at it from.
Yeah, and so I think that's important to note. If you love comic books, which we all do, if you love comic book characters, which we all do and did, and I grew up reading comics in the 80s and 90s and buying toys and stuff like that and really being into them, and seeing the sort of the manifestation of those things in the form of the MCU is nothing short of stunning, right? It is surreal.
Sure. Yeah, we do have sort of divisive things left and right. For the most part, I think the MCU has been pretty much doing a really good job of adapting what's in the Marvel Universe onto the screen.
Yes.
People obviously still get mad about little things like, the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, for instance.
Yeah, there's been a couple different Hulks.
But yeah,
there was Thor 2.
For the most part, they do a better job of adapting the source material than, say, X-Men Origins did with Deadpool, you know?
And so if you look at the big issue with The Last Jedi, which for many people was sort of the way things were not answered properly, or the way expectations were subverted. And what that means specifically is that a lot of people who enjoyed The Force Awakens went on to The Last Jedi. They spent that 2 years between that time thinking and theorizing and hoping and wishing that some of the questions that were proposed in TFA were answered properly in TLJ. And the thing is, in some ways, I think they were. Because if you look at something like Rey's parents, they said, what's the worst situation we could possibly give her? She won't be a Skywalker, she won't be a Kenobi, she won't be a Maul, whatever it is she could be.
Right.
We're gonna throw all those things out of the way. Then you look at someone like Snoke, right? They set him up to be this big bad, and they kind of offed him pretty quickly, spoilers. And so that's kind of in line with stuff that they did with guys like Darth Maul and Dooku and Grievous and other stuff like that. But to bring us to the MCU, we have a year break between Infinity War and what will next be known as the sort of second half of Infinity War. Right now, we're just calling it Infinity Gauntlet. There's a bunch of different names.
We're going to talk about that later in the show. But that's the thing is, it's the biggest, hugest. People are comparing Infinity War to Empire Strikes Back because it's got this big cliffhanger thing, and it's sort of like, what's going to happen next? And the second you say what's going to happen next, you start filling in the blanks.
Yes.
And you start kind of setting yourself up to think you know what's going to happen. And the second you start doing that, you also start creating expectations. And that's why the third part of a trilogy is always really, that it always has that sort of letdown to go with it.
Yeah. And if you look at this 10-year cycle, there's this arc that Marvel's been on. Let's get some things out of the way real quick. They have not killed off any significant hero characters yet. They've murdered some villains. I think with comic books, there's always that revolving door that they can come back in.
Yeah, comic book death is sort of that's another story.
Yeah,
entirely.
which is interesting because you would think those rules would change a little bit when you're making movies because they're based on actual human actors and there's a finality to all that, right? So the thing is with Star Wars has now killed off Han Solo. They've killed off Luke Skywalker. And I know there's a caveat there, right? Like when you kill a Jedi or a Sith, there's that weird open door that they can come back. You know, droids have been torn apart.
Still, like kind of Skype in. You know.
If you get away from the actual the Star Wars movies, you've got characters like Darth Maul returning as a spider robot. You know, weird things like that can happen.
Yeah, I mean, they killed off Han Solo, 2 years ago, and we're getting a new Han Solo movie in a month, or 2 weeks, or whatever.
And possibly more than that, backstories.
So it's sort of like they can always jump around in time. But as far as moving the story forward,
and so without getting into spoilers on Infinity War, because some of you haven't seen it yet, let's just assume that it's got kind of a cliffhangery ending, which you should have figured out by now because it's half of a movie, right? We're seeing the second half literally a year from this week, and we'll be able to answer all our questions. But the reality is that movie ends with sort of the expectations or the futures of a bunch of things in play up in the air.
Right.
And so how that will be resolved has yet to be determined. There are a number of ways that could happen that make people happy, and there are a number of ways that can happen that don't. What we do know is that a bunch of standalone films have been, announced. Recently this week they talked about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and how that's definitely a thing that's going to happen. And if you've seen Infinity War, you might have some questions about how that's going to happen. Again, trying to stay as spoiler-free as possible. Mm-hmm. But The Last Jedi, what it did was it split audiences. Critics seem to like it. It made a lot of money. Sounds familiar if you're an Infinity War fan. Critics and audiences for Infinity War seem pretty much universally praising the product, which is good. It's good to have. But there's an open door there. And in a year, we're going to see how it closes. And I think some people are not going to be happy with that. Also, when they do start killing off major players for realsies in these stories, it's going to piss a lot of people off. Because if you look at the way Luke Skywalker ended, I, for one, was sort of just like, I liked he played one final trick on the bad guys, but he also kind of just like died on a mountain in a fart cloud.
Right.
Like it wasn't that great. And so if you do something like that to Iron Man or Captain America or Hulk or anything like that, even Thanos, right? Like if they don't get significant deaths, like if Thanos dies the way Snoke died, for example, which obviously he's got a lot more power than Snoke, I think it's going to divide some people.
Sure. I mean, what's interesting about comparing Star Wars and Marvel, and obviously these are very much different things, different concepts. But what's weird about Star Wars is it has had sort of finales a couple times at this point. We had, Return of the Jedi was theoretically the end of Star Wars, and then they went back and they were like, oh, but here's 1, 2, 3, and then the end of Revenge of the Sith is sort of the beginning of the original trilogy. Right. And then they go back and they revisit the Rebels and Clone Wars and stuff like that. And there's always kind of filling in the blanks and the gaps, but there's still this sense of like it comes in trilogies. And it's always, obviously this is the sort of the second part of the sequel trilogy, The Last Jedi. But in the case of Marvel, there's no end to the Marvel universe. There's no, it's always kind of churning along, and there's always more stuff coming about. And they'll retcon stuff, or they'll reinvent stuff, or reboot stuff. And in the case of the Marvel movies, they come out so frequently that it seems almost pointless to rank them because they age differently. Whereas like Star Wars movies, sometimes you're like, you see it, you love it at first, and you go back and you're like, I don't know how I feel about that, or vice versa, where you're like, I used to hate this movie, and you go back and you're like, actually, I kind of like, it's kind of grown on me. With the Marvel movies, there's some that like really hold up, and there's some that like people are like, the hell was that? I can't believe I liked that when I saw it. And they always are good at dangling the next two in front of you. I mean, we're already thinking ahead to Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel and Spider-Man: Homecoming 2. Prom, whatever they're gonna call it, but like there's more at stake, and we're always looking ahead.
Yeah.
It's something like I guess Star Wars really has this sort of it's got more weight to it.
It feels like
it's higher stakes, sort of.
It feels like 3 books on a shelf, whereas the MCU movies kind of feel like comic books you get 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah, and at the same time,
which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
With Marvel stuff, they're like, yeah, this has been in the works for 10 years, and we've put out 17 movies or whatever. Whereas with Star Wars, you're like, hey, you've waited 36 years to see what happens to Luke Skywalker. Well, he literally phones it in, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. He's Skypes.
But that being said, at some point there is going to be something that happens in the MCU that does divide people, and we're not there yet. I think so far we're at a point where they've hit this stride where basically every movie or two that comes out, people are like, well, this is the best one yet. But at some point, they're gonna do something that makes everyone mad.
Yeah, like
and
if
that's
you look,
gonna be interesting.
Exactly, I completely agree. I think it's already starting to happen a little bit. If you look at movies like The Last Jedi, as a Luke Skywalker fan, you might say like this was a really strange telling of this character. I don't like that he almost killed his nephew. I don't like that he chickened out on the war that's in the title of the film. I don't like that he basically went into hiding and didn't want to help anyone. Then you start to look at someone like Bruce Banner in Infinity War, and it's like, well, I don't know. I saw a bunch of toys leading into that movie that looked like he was going to break out of a Hulkbuster in a Hulk costume, and that didn't happen. So, like, as a Hulk fan, that film's kind of a letdown, and I think we're going to start to see little trickles of that. And it's hard to give a cohesive, perfect story to so many characters when you're juggling so many things, which, to be fair, I think Infinity War did a great job of grabbing characters and pairing them up and introducing them to each other and also keeping them away from each other. There's a lot of characters that haven't even met each other yet, sort of in the way The Last Jedi ended. And Rey was like, oh, hey, I'm Rey, and Poe was like, oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
you're like, what?
Yeah,
you guys never met?
There are too many action figures.
Yeah, there's too many action figures. So, I don't know. Let us know what you think. If you think this is going to resolve everything for everyone in the next Infinity War movie, I don't think it will. I think it's going to split a lot of us. I think we'll be having a lot of debates in like a year. And I think that right now you're probably mad at this video and this headline because it sounds clickbaity, but really it's not. Hear us out, and thank you for listening.
Yeah, and always manage your expectations.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff happening this week. First thing this morning, we got our first look at The Predator, which is the new Shane Black Predator movie. This is what is this technically like? I guess it's Predator 4.
It's
effectively if you're not counting the AVP movies.
It's effectively the fourth. So there was
Predator 2, The Predators, Alien vs. Predator, AVP Requiem.
Yep.
And now it's The Predator.
Yes.
And this is the interesting thing about this. I don't think a lot of people are properly understanding this, and it's going to do something very bad here in a second, where it says from the director of Iron Man 3, which is horrifically underselling Shane Black.
Yes.
Shane Black, first of all, he's the guy who tells dirty jokes in the first Predator that I can't repeat here. He helped write Predator on set. He was there for that. He wrote Lethal Weapon, I think 1, 2, and 3. He did Long Kiss Goodnight, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Basically, if there's a movie that has like buddy cop stuff and it has like an alcoholic cop and it's Christmas time in LA, he probably wrote it. He did The Nice Guys.
Which you should all go watch. It's fantastic.
He's done so many awesome movies. He's one of my like favorite writers, and the fact that he's doing this is kind of a big deal because he's good at making very self-aware action, and the fact that he got his start kind of working on the original Predator should be a big deal. But instead they're just like, from the director of Iron Man 3, which I know is going to rub people a lot of the, you see right there. That's not a, don't put that in the trailer. The trailer itself is really all over the place. I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where I find it like completely tonally inconsistent, and I think that if anybody else's name was attached to it, I would just straight up write this one off. But because I trust Shane Black, and also this cast is mostly really awesome. This guy, what's his name? It's Boyd Holbrook as Quinn McKenna, and he was on Narcos, and he was like the star of the first season of that show. Fantastic actor, moved out of the way for the second season and went on to do a bunch of other cool stuff. We've also got Olivia Munn, who's been on the show before. She was wonderful. There is Keegan-Michael Key, Sterling K. Brown, Trevante Rose.
Jane is in it. If you want to know what this movie's about, there's actually a podcast that Thomas Jane was on about, I think, UFO truth. And he basically spoiled the whole premise. So if you want a full synopsis, he's an interesting dude.
Yeah,
so get like a breakout about this on this show.
Let's get this out of the way. My worries about this movie, along with the tonal inconsistency, is that I don't know if it's like part Predator, part Stranger Things. I see kids there, and I'm like, how gory can you really get? Maybe that'll change my mind. I also see the fact that it's like everything we've seen so far. I won't say it looks cheap. It just doesn't really look like, it doesn't have really that bravado to it that I'm looking for. It's not as gory. It's not as interesting.
First of all, this is a bad trailer.
Yes.
It's a bad movie trailer.
Yeah.
The movie itself could go either way, but the trailer itself, it's like we watch a lot of trailers here. It starts out like it's doing that dramatic teaser thing, and then it's like, whoops, never mind. Here's the stuff here's the money shots. Here's like the exciting like spaceships and explosions. And you're like, all right, and it's not like quick cuts. I feel like you could have very easily done something where the kid is like playing with a toy, and then you hear like that predator noise, and then it goes the predator, you know, and you're like, oh, is he gonna kill the kid? Is the kid the predator? What is it? Child predator? I don't know what the what.
Yeah, they're also hinting at some sort of like, I don't know, hybrid DNA gene splicing upgrade
that's the thing
stuff.
is also let's get to the bottom of this. Predator, like the Predator movies are really fun. I love them. I love the Predator as a monster. It's great. But we did this thing in the 90s that was kind of deceptive, where we made the Alien and the Predator fight, and the Alien has a pedigree. Like the Alien movies, you got Ridley Scott, you got James Cameron, you got David Fincher, you got Joss Whedon and that French guy working on Resurrection. Alien movies are kind of all over the place, with the exception of the first two, which are effectively perfect. The first Predator movie is like a very loud, stupid action movie, and the second Predator movie is an even weirder, dumber. Like that's like an honorary Paul Verhoeven movie.
Yeah.
Like they're not good movies. They're fun movies, and they're good, stupid, loud movies, but they're not like good movies. Whereas like to put it in the same category as Alien, you know?
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's also, I think that sort of like DNA gene splicing kind of undermines what the Predator is.
We're not here to see the Predator do, like, we don't care about his motivations. We don't need like a Predator Prometheus. Like,
no.
Predator doesn't need to get smart. Predator is here. He's going to cut out the guys' backs and necks, and he's going to scream at the night, and he's probably going to learn a swear word from one of these characters, and he's going to shout it from his weird voice box, and they're going to take off his mask. They're like, oh god, it looks like a crab in there. It's awful.
This is like that Dr. Evil joke about like sharks with frickin' laser beams. It's like, we don't need to see this. Like sharks are awesome already. You know, they have Shark Week already. They don't have Shark Week with lasers. Although that sounds
I'm worried
pretty cool.
I'm worried about them trying to make this I'm worried about them trying to make this a good movie. I need this to be like a fun movie. I need this to be like, and I think Shane Black is exactly the right guy to do this, because he understands what makes like a good, dumb action movie that still has like a kind of, self-aware fun side to it.
And so I said this when The Nice Guys came out, and I saw it in theaters, and I was kind of like, okay, like I'm trying to piece together why this guy should do, or where Predator fits in this man's vision, right? And one of the things I really like about that movie is that it has random moments of severe violence that are never really truly addressed by anyone.
And they're hilarious.
They're really funny. Like a dude just gets shot and blows up basically, and no one ever says anything. He's just like in a window.
If you haven't seen The Nice Guys, go watch The Nice Guys, and then imagine the Predators there, and that's the movie that I hope to see.
Me
There's
too.
a part where Ryan Gosling is like he's trying to break into a building, and he does that cool thing you see in movies all the times where you you wrap your fist in a handkerchief and you like punch the door or something. Except he just opens a vein and passes out.
Yeah.
Like that's like it's so gross and it's so violent, and like I want stuff with the Predator like with that,
I agree.
Yeah.
So I will say the cool thing is that this movie has going for it. Like we said, good cast. The setting is really interesting. It's effectively in suburbia, and it's a science teacher teaming up with like Marines to kill like a
sounds stupid.
Space
I love
alien.
it. I love the idea of that.
I kind of love that. I hope they don't get too much into like gene splicing stuff, because like I said, like the Predator is a honed weapon of a thing.
Yeah, I mean,
so interesting on its own. Like he just comes. He's the top of his food chain. Like effectively,
he is a dude on a hunting trip.
Yeah.
Like they're straight up like there are these guys who are like they're on like a stag week vacation where they're like, yeah, we're gonna go out to this planet Earth, we're gonna knock back some cold ones, and we're gonna use our lasers and invisibility to kill Jesse Ventura. You're
Yeah,
like,
because of that and like I don't know, I will say I really like sort of the first 2/3 of Predators, because it's a bunch of like convicts from America and all over the world getting airdropped into Predator Planet, and you get to see their homeland, and they're just awful, and they're setting up traps, and they're setting people against each other. They have like weird dog pets, like nightmarish versions of things from Avatar.
I like that movie. That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, it falls apart when
it falls apart. It's a Predator movie. I don't really care.
It kind of falls apart.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Yeah,
there's a lot of interesting stuff there. You get to learn more about them. I love Predator. Like I always did. Like it's just it kind of sucks.
I'm so happy that we're getting a movie called The Predator.
Yeah.
Like we haven't gotten a movie called The Alien yet. We got Alien Covenant, where they were like, oh, but what if like the alien had like a weird like a pink friend, and like
that was still like 20% Prometheus.
What if Michael Fassbender played the recorder with himself? Like Ridley Scott, I feel like has forgotten what makes Alien great. I feel like Shane Black still really understands what makes Predator great, and I have faith in him to make this a good movie. But that being said, the trailer's kind of dumb.
Make Alien great again.
Make Predator pretty stupid again. Do it.
Yeah.
The
hat.
Anyway, Empire also posted this picture of the Predator, which
that rules.
It looks like the Predator. Also, is this going to be like a Metroidvania for the Predator, where he's got to track down all his gear? He starts
hope
out
so.
And he's like ass naked, and he's just like.
Hell yeah, dude! That sounds amazing. I'm totally into that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's great.
Anyway, I'm rooting for the Predator. All right, so moving on. Other big news, huge announcement this morning. Obviously, Rick and Morty is one of the hugest shows on TV right now. We all love it. That's like a legit, like, good sci-fi show that happens to be also hilarious. Very smart. It has some issues with production here and there where they'll be like, it'll be like 3 years without a season, and they'll be like, here's the season, and you're like, where was that? They just ordered 70 new episodes of that show, which, if you're counting, is more than are already out. So they are, like, I guess Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, whoever actually signs the checks on this, has ordered that many of them, and now it comes down to Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon to actually make those things. I'm a little bit worried about that, though, because I feel like Rick and Morty is it thrives on how sort of raw and genuine it is, and it's a very self-hating show, and I think that also, especially after the sort of the Szechuan sauce debacle, there's sort of a divide between what the show is itself and some of the hardcore fans who are all about, you know, collecting Funko Pops and stuff. And I mean, there's been like Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon have come out and basically been like, this sucks. I don't think you understand our show, you know. So I don't know if they're gonna be like on board with this for a whole another 70 episodes. I don't really know what you do with that show for that long.
Yeah,
that's a lot of animation to make too. That's gonna take a minute.
It's a lot. It's also I think this is like unheard of to have a show be renewed for 7 seasons. Like most of the shows I watch, like Better Call Saul is one of my favorite shows on TV right now. Like it is a struggle every year to find out if we're getting another season of that show, and that show is effectively filling in backstory for a show I already watched years ago. To get an idea of like 70, like that's so, you guys don't really understand. That is so rare. Like Game of Thrones didn't get renewed for 7 seasons.
Also, I don't know. That's it was Cat Dog that this happened with. Cat Dog apparently got picked up for like, if you grew up watching Nickelodeon and Cat Dog was always on, and you were like, who actually loves Cat Dog? I know some people love Cat Dog. Please don't dox me or whatever. But like Cat Dog, they saw like a pilot and they were like, yes, we'll take 8 seasons or whatever. They just like signed off for like they were like, this is going to be the next, I don't know, Ren and Stimpy, Angry Beavers, whatever the hell they thought it was going to be, and it proved to not really be. They just they were like, well, we bought it, we better use it. You know, we've got to do something with it. So Cat Dog just existed on that, and I don't know. I think Rick and Morty's better than that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with it.
I think shows should be allowed to end if they need to.
If they want to, yeah, totally.
Yeah, so in other big news, we've been sort of tracking the hype for Solo, a Star Wars story, for some time now.
Or occasionally lack thereof.
Yeah, we're both huge Star Wars fans, and we're still sort of like, it looks cool, I guess, but it's like we're not like jumping up and down, like, you know, clapping in our seats to get excited about Solo.
For some I don't know, insight into our weird brains, every single time a new Star Wars movie is sort of on the path to release, there's a lot of things that happen here at IGN, specifically at Max and I's desk. We start buying toys. We count down the day until the movie tickets are available. We pre-order the art books and stuff like that. And I don't know if it's because we just did this 6 months ago or because we're sort of lukewarm on the backstory of a character that we already know the demise of. But I find it interesting that we're all sort of, as an industry and as an audience, as a collective community, are kind of like on a wait-and-see approach with this one. So we went to buy tickets on, I believe, Thursday night at 9 p.m. They became available. And just poking around different sites to buy them, I noticed that this was a much easier experience to purchase tickets than it was for something like The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens was the kind of thing where every single person at IGN was refreshing their laptops at the same time.
That was like buying like Coachella tickets.
Yeah, and we were like yelling like, got him! Oh, I got the 2D showing, I got the 7:30 p.m. 3D showing with the free with 3D glasses and like commemorative cups and a magazine.
Yeah,
and
we
stuff
went
like that.
nuts, and we've done that 3 times.
Yeah.
We did that for Force Awakens, we did that for Rogue One, we did that for Last Jedi. Last Jedi was like, what, less than 6 months ago? That's kind of pretty recently. And we also sort of did it with Infinity War, which is kind of the same deal. And then on top of that, there's like Deadpool 2. And then by the time, I don't know, Solo rolled around, we were like, I'm kind of tired about getting hyped up for movies.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, it's upon us. It's coming out really soon. The good news is, for Star Wars, is that we're sort of in the outlier here because a lot of people are buying tickets. It's doing really, really well. It is at this rate outselling Black Panther pre-sale tickets.
Yeah, which is pretty damn nuts. And I was thinking about that, and I think the main thing is like you watch it, you right there watching this show, and us right here. We get it. We're in the know. Like this is the secret society of nerds here. Like we got our ear to the street and all of this. But I think there's a lot of people out there that just go, Star Wars? I love the Star Wars, and they just go to see the movie, which is awesome. Star Wars is one of the biggest, richest, most iconic brands in the history of literally anything. But I think for the rest of us, we're kind of like, well, cinematography looks awesome. You know, Khaleesi's in it. There's a new robot in the train heist, and he gets to meet his dog for the first time. And Childish Gambino, fresh off of his murder video, is playing Lando. This is great news, but I'm also cautiously optimistic about it. But I think the general movie-going audience is happy to see another Star Wars movie, and that's just the way that works.
Look at how well Rogue One did, and also like what is that? Like that name means nothing to anybody. Like I mean, when that first came out, if you're like a casual Star Wars fan, you're like, the hell is this? And then you're like, oh, it's when is this? Who is this? Who are these people? What's happening? Like Darth Vader shows up at the end. That's cool. But if you're just like kind of a casual Star Wars fan, this is, Rogue One didn't really answer any questions. It was just kind of like an adventure. In this case, though, it's Han Solo. It's Indiana Jones in space. It's like the most beloved character, arguably. And
so I don't think this will go on to pass the domestic or worldwide gross of Black Panther. I think that was a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
But I think it'll do a lot better than we thought it would. So that's good news.
I really didn't need to Photoshop this. I don't know what this picture tells us.
He doesn't look excited for
Also,
the film.
I love that. That's like one of the official like Han Solo like press photos or whatever. He kind of looks like Phil Spencer there. Like he's just like, It's like a really I don't know. I saw that in like a banner ad and I was like, does he want to be here?
I know.
I don't know.
I want to give a quick shout out to some people in the comments on YouTube. Tim Warren says, I'm in a car eating McDonald's, parked in the parking lot on my lunch break watching IGN. I'm a loser, lol. No, you're not. You're awesome. Thank you for taking time in your day to watch our show in your car.
Seriously.
That's great. And hopefully we can make your day just a little bit better. And I miss McDonald's. I can't eat it.
I don't know if he heard you. It says he said he has to go back to work.
Maybe he left already.
Yeah. Anyway.
If you know Tim Warren, if you're like in a parking lot and there's a guy eating McDonald's in his car, tap on the window and be like, those guys just gave you a shout out.
Make sure he cracks the window, otherwise he might die of heat exhaustion.
Do that thing, go.
Actually, that's dogs.
Anyway,
all right. So moving on. I guess we're going to talk. We talked about Star Wars. We're kind of jumping around this episode, but I want to talk about the title for Avengers 4.
Yes.
This is Avengers 4 is. I love how we were like, Infinity War is the most anticipated thing ever, and then we saw it and we're like, well, now what happens?
Where's the rest of it?
Yeah. So Avengers 4. We don't even know what it's called. We're calling it Avengers 4, and everyone's speculating about the title of this movie, and it's really funny. I'm having a really good time just guessing, because the second we know, then we know, and that's it. And then we start calling it that. It becomes a household name.
Well, so
I love the.
Do you know why this rules? Because this is what we do with Star Wars our entire lives.
That's true. Yeah. What's the next?
And so we never get to do this.
name?
Like, well, I don't really care what Spider-Man 2 is called or Black Panther 2. They're probably just being called Black Panther 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, probably not. They kind of take the numbers out. So
Avengers 4
Iron Man
2, Iron Man 3, they're just numbers in there, right?
They cut that though. Now then they do Thor Ragnarok and then, Spider-Man Homecoming. And, the numbers apparently scare people off, but apparently like random words like school dance names don't. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny because Star Wars is always like, Star Wars, Return of the Scary Word.
Yeah, you're like, what the hell is that?
But, the Curse of the Creature's Revenge.
Yeah, what's funny with Marvel movies is they're always borrowing names of like comic book events, and then they don't actually really pull from them. Like Civil War was loosely based on Civil War. Spider-Man Homecoming had nothing to do with the Straczynski run Coming Home. There's what is it? X-Men First Class had like nothing to do with the First Class comic. There's like a ton of stuff where they'll just use the name, and that's about it. And then you can speculate all you want, and you go out to the comic store and you buy this thing that's been out for 20 years, and then you read it and you go see the movie and you're like, the hell was that? It had nothing to do with it. So people, of course, are speculating what is Avengers 4 going to be called? The way it works, Infinity War was the second part, Infinity Gauntlet was the first one, and Infinity War came second.
Yes.
So a lot of people think that Infinity Gauntlet is the title for Avengers 4, and the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony, have said, no, it is not. It is not the name of it. That's not what it's called. Sorry. I think that would honestly, as far as regular moviegoers go, calling something Infinity War and then Infinity Gauntlet would just be too much Infinity, ironically.
Yeah,
and that would be confusing for people to tell them apart.
And the Russo brothers straight up said, we are not adapting the comics.
They said, here's what they said. We've got a quote from Russo brother Joe. He says, I don't think there are any comics that correlate to it. I think we're in pretty fresh territory with Avengers 4. If anything, I think it's interesting after to go back and look at some of the Marvel films and view them through a different lens, but I can't think of any comics in particular that would have value, which is messed up because there are all sorts of comics have lots of value. They have really very valuable. You can get them graded at the Comic-Con and they tell you how much they're worth.
Hell yeah, I carry Wizard magazine in my front pouch
everywhere I go. Get your comic book price guide. How dare you, Russo brother Joe? But that being said, here's some titles that people are kicking around. First of all, Infinity Gauntlet, nope. That's not it. They've straight up said that is not the title of Avengers 4. Not calling it that.
It might have
period.
your version with the 3 question marks.
Yeah, in the wrong font. I think that's a safe bet. Infinity Gauntlet? Another one that's being kicked around a lot is Disassembled. Avengers Disassembled was a very popular comic run where the Avengers basically got kind of kicked all over the place.
I don't think they're going to do this because you can't title a movie that has the words dis-ass in it.
Dis-ass.
Also, a lot of people screw up the spelling of that because they're dumb, and they're me.
Yeah, that's true. I might have even spelled it there. There's no spell check in Photoshop.
I think it's D-I-S-S-I-S-S-A-S-S-S
Disassembled.
I-S-S-A-M-B-L-E-D.
Anyway, the point is, Avengers probably not going to be called Disassembled. It's just, I don't know. It's just maybe later on down the road. But that seems like they're probably not pulling from that. Another one. This is interesting. A lot of people are speculating Avengers Endgame. Which would be interesting because it would suggest that there's an end to the Avengers. This is the finale, but of course Avengers is probably going to keep going with like a different bunch of animal people in it. This is the name of a comic run, I guess. Also, they've said specifically that the name of Avengers 4 is not uttered in Infinity War, which is curious because then you're like, I don't think anyone has like a transcript of that entire movie and they're going through like line by line being like, nope, they said this here. But I specifically remember them saying, like, I think Doctor Strange is like, we're in the end game now. So like that kind of rules out Endgame. But then again, we could be wrong, or the Russo brothers could have forgotten that they said that in the movie. Another one that people are kicking around a lot is Avengers Forever. Of course, everyone's been shouting Wakanda Forever. They shout that in Infinity War. And then of course there's the corniness of it could be like the number 4 ever.
It also, I think it does a good job of sort of passing the torch on to whatever the next wave of Avengers movies could be.
Yeah, and it's also, you think of like, oh, like infinity, forever. There's kind of like a relation there. But Russo brother Joe, who's the funny one, he says the actual title is The Avengers Almost Forever. He's joking there. That's not the actual title. But that does seem to be kind of close to home to the point where if they were going to call it Avengers Forever, that would be really, he wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't joke about it being almost forever because it's not.
Team Sora in our YouTube chat said possibly Avengers Assemble. We said Disassemble.
So that's where it gets interesting. Avengers Assemble is what the first Avengers was released as in the UK, I believe. I might be wrong about that. There's some territory where Avengers Assemble was like the title of it, which it's kind of an odd choice. They could always go ahead and be like Avengers Assemble. That's like that's a good kind of, you know, standby, but it does also feel like something you could have called the first one. Here's an interesting quote from Anthony, who's the serious one of the Russo brothers. He says, "It's certainly grounded in the narrative that we've been following throughout the MCU. Very well grounded." I don't know what that means exactly. If they're like ground Avengers, the ground forces, or like I don't know what that would mean. But I had an idea. What about Avengers? Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
It's long, but I like it.
That is the original tagline of the team. You know, if they're really celebrating this kind of victory lap of this big, huge, you know, decade-long project, it's grounded. It reminds you that these guys are they're fighting for Earth. You know, and of course the Guardians of the Galaxy are there too. But like, I don't know. This seems like it could be it. But really, end of the day, we have no idea what Avengers 4 is called.
Hey,
so
what if we got this all wrong and the words come before the title?
Look out, it's the Avengers.
Yeah, or like say goodbye to the Avengers.
What's up, Avengers?
Either way, this week, I wanted to throw this in there real quick. We found out that Adam Warlock is definitely not showing up in this movie. I don't like knowing that things aren't going to have things before I have them. You know, I mean, but it also kind of sets up expectations. I wanted to read this quote real quick. This is from Joe Russo. He says, "Yeah, Adam Warlock's not showing up in our stories. Look, our job, as we said a million times, is to tell the story of the MCU, not to do direct adaptations of the comics because we're comic book fans. I have no interest as a director in telling a story that's already been told or in seeing one that's already been told. If I know all the events of the story as they're going to happen, then what's the point of doing the film? We want to keep surprising audiences and continue the story that started with Iron Man a decade ago." So no Adam Warlock.
Yeah,
kind of sucks.
They'll show up at some point. Like they'll definitely get to him. But like, I don't know. They shuffle things around and they change stuff and they save some stuff for later. So.
My problem with these characters that are showing up later is like, this is the time to be there, dude. Like everyone needs your help. Like also, especially all the street level. While we're here, real quick, all those street level bums in the MCU that watched all this stuff go down in Avengers: Infinity War and didn't show up to help. Daredevil, what's wrong, man? Iron Fist. Where you at? You filming season 2?
If they've got
Luke
like
Cage?
They got like a teenager, you know. They got Spider-Man jumping around there.
Agent Coulson, you guys busy? What happened?
I think that was the biggest tell that like
Somebody steal something from the mall, you had to go take care of it?
This is a different universe.
Yeah,
doesn't count.
exactly.
Which is a bummer. It would have been cool to see those guys up there, but oh well. All right. Moving on, back to the other side of the galaxy. Let's talk about some Star Wars again.
Good. It's been 10 minutes and
we start getting
itchy.
itches. Yeah. Hasbro is good enough to send over some toys from Solo: A Star Wars Story, and I figured we could try to piece together what we think is going to happen in this film based on these toys.
I love this idea.
And now this is mostly going to be stupid and not true. We're mostly going to be goofing around. This is not going to be serious speculation, but maybe a little bit. So if you're trying to totally avoid spoilers, don't worry too much, but maybe worry a little bit because we've guessed things wrong on purpose by accident before and been correct. Did that make any sense?
No, I think you did good so far.
Thanks, dude.
Oh yeah, so we have a whole bunch of the toys here.
Yeah.
These are all the 4-inch scale. We didn't have any Black Series stuff.
No, they sent
the tall boys.
We've got the Millennium Falcon. This is the Kessel Run Falcon, which has the weird, like, codpiece thing on the front. I know a lot of people have been like, it looks kind of narrow or it looks weird. Interesting thing here, this pops off. It's an escape pod.
There you are.
Yeah.
This is like when a
normal-
Scooby-Doo villain takes off his mask.
It's like, it was you the whole time, Falcon.
We called that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now again, this is everyone's being like we called it. This could just be a toy. We haven't actually seen what happens in the movie. Like toys have done dumber things, but this does open up and it's a little pod.
We called it.
Yes. Okay. It comes with this thing. It's this tube. We thought this was drugs. We thought this was spice from Kessel. Apparently it's called coaxium, and it has this storage thing in here. It's supposed to go in this side of the ship, like you can shove it in there in the engine or whatever. And it looks like it's supposed to get mounted in here, like they're specifically like put it in here. So I think what's going to happen is that I think that Han and Lando are going to get in a fight, and like Han's gonna take Lando's coaxium and he's gonna put it in the escape pod. And he's gonna throw it away. He's gonna launch it, and then Lando's gonna be like, "Hey man, where's my escape pod on my ship? It looks a little bit weird. The front of it's missing." And he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what happened there. I don't know where the front of the ship is."
Yeah.
I think Han Solo's just gonna be messing with the ship the whole time and just screwing it up.
Side note, you know what's really weird is we saw in The Last Jedi that the Millennium Falcon has an escape pod. They designed a new and sort of made a canonical escape pod for that thing.
I don't like that one bit.
Yeah, me
I think
neither.
it was kind of weird that you're like, oh, the Falcon looks exactly the same. The radar dish is now square. I guess they switched from DirecTV to Xfinity or whatever.
Show me what else this bad boy does.
Okay, so this makes a lot of stupid ass noises. Where's the switch? There's a switch you turn it on with. It also explodes for no reason. Where the God, I can't find the switch. There's like a button on here you're supposed to turn on. They hide it very well. You could literally say anything, vamp, or do something. There it is, I found it. All right. Thanks, Brian. Great help. Good job. Is it on? There we go. All right, it's supposed to do stuff. Thanks for help. You're really doing a great job here. Anyway, it's supposed to like explode. Up at noon every week. Every week we do this. Thanks. I want to kill myself. This is horrible.
So it's going to make that noise a lot in the film, we
Definitely
believe.
makes that noise. There's
What
like
else will it do, Max?
There's like
It's gonna-
takeoff stuff. That's like the flying sound. You see it like lights up. You can't really see it because it's gonna start vibrating. Yeah. And then it's gonna blow up. I don't know how to make it actually work. There we go. Yeah. So in case you can't blow up your own toys, there it is. Thanks for just leaving me up here. This is really, I'm actually getting a little bit creeped out. This sucks.
We're making art.
Thanks,
okay,
dude.
so that's not good looking.
Yeah, so this also comes out. You can hide in there. That's where Lando goes to take naps.
That's right. And then
this.
there's little pizzas for everyone, for the whole squad to munch on.
He's hiding in there.
There he is.
Yeah, so anyway, then there's also this land speeder, which I'm excited about because it means we finally have a different car besides Luke's. Shh, shut up. It just doesn't, it keeps making the noises. It's really loud. It sounds like a dentist drill. Anyway, so there's this speeder. We got, Khaleesi, who hangs out in here. I love her. We're just going to keep calling her that. Her name is Kira. It's QI''R', which is actually what Rey was supposed to be called in Force Awakens. So this is a little land speeder. He's gonna drive it around. It's like a little car or whatever. But it does this cool action feature where he flies out like a crash test dummy because he's not wearing his seatbelt.
Wait, hold on. Can I see the front of that thing again? Push on that boy. Oh, that's so unsettling. That looks like an old man's legs.
So here's what we think is gonna happen in the Solo movie is that he's gonna crash a car, fly out of the windshield like that, but also he's gonna blow up the Millennium Falcon partially and probably use the escape pod to launch coaxium out into space.
You think so?
I think so.
You think he's gonna shoot into the sky out of his seat?
I think there's gonna be a scene where he's gonna land in manure like Biff Tannen. Whee!
You think he's gonna land on the front of his car and it's gonna be all rubbery and wrinkly?
Yeah, probably.
Like an old man's ankles?
Yeah. I think that's gonna happen. I think that's the true story.
I have a feeling that's not gonna happen at all. I don't think that's gonna happen one bit.
No, I've been watching Star Wars movies. I've seen over 6 of them. I think that.
Oh hell yeah! I love reading books. I'm reading a book right now.
Do not try to read the land speeder like a book, please.
It's a book.
It's not. It doesn't. It's a square.
Look at this. Hey, does this arouse you?
I don't love that. I'll be honest. I don't really like that. They're like, my new plastic toy has rubber on it.
I don't like that they made it look like a grandfather's cankles.
Don't.
It's sick.
All right.
What else do we have?
We got. I don't know. We got some. There's this guy. There's a like he's a guard from Kessel.
He's a Kessel guard.
He's a Kessel guard. I really like this toy. I like this alien. He comes with a 2-pack with Lando.
That's what's he got in his head? A fax machine?
He looks like that robot from Flubber that falls in love with Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Like you can't really see it, but it looks like a. I don't know, like a Keurig.
He's like a steampunk minion.
Yeah, he's wearing a kilt. He looks like a PAX enforcer kind of.
This guy's name is Fax Jackson.
But he's got this gun turret, which is cool. Yeah, so that's what. Yeah, those are the toys. I do want to point out something about the Solo toys in that they are a considerable step up in quality than we've been getting lately from Hasbro through Disney. When The Force Awakens came out, I want to point this out. When The Force Awakens came out, we got a lot of toys. And some of them were just really noticeably not great. Like the quality was a step down. Here's Constable Zuvio. You might know him from never being in the film and being on lots and lots of shelves at Walgreens because nobody bought him. Because who is he? The figures that came out for Force Awakens were they had a lot of just really they weren't able to sit down properly. Like they got weird square asses like that. They completely cut back on paint ops and articulation. Accessories were kind of sparse. And thankfully, it looks like with Solo, they're finally sort of improving stuff. Specifically, here's like a side by side we can do. Here's what's his name? Diego Luna, Cassian Andor from Rogue One. I think he might have been a vehicle pack-in, so his quality's a little bit crappier than usual. But he's got this jacket, which is just one piece that's molded on. He's got these very awkward straight arms at his side. Actually, I guess they're about the same here. Solo though has the jacket is a separate piece of his body, so you can see it's the paint's a lot cleaner too.
He's way nicer.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know, cleaner paints, cleaner sculpts. The alien looks really good too. There's more dirt on him, which is good. You compare that with Zuvio, who just looks like he looks like a Ruby's Halloween costume. And they're keeping the price point the same. So the toys are getting noticeably better. They're articulated at the wrist again, which was something Star Wars figures up until 1998 or 9 with episode 1 were pretty much just 6 points of articulation. They would bend at the waist and the head and the arms, and that was it. And then they started adding elbows and wrists and knees and stuff like that. And then randomly for Force Awakens, they basically took it away and got rid of it. But it's nice to see they're kind of starting to creep it back into the main series.
Yeah, you and I made a video a couple years ago on this show saying Star Wars toys are not great now. So we're kind of bummed out about that. And I think you can see right here, look at the new Millennium Falcon and look at the old one. Considerable differences in terms of paint ops and stuff like that. But what this one does, and I think we were talking about this, is it lights up and makes sound.
Makes a lot of
sound.
sound.
So I think if that's what you're looking for in a toy, rather than something that looks, this is also, before Chewie crashed it in a swamp
Yeah.
or pooped in it, whatever he does in this movie.
Yeah, and I mean, I've talked to Hasbro people about this, and their whole thing is that like they're making toys for kids. You know, they're not making toys for weird old collectors like us.
But what about me, the ancient man?
I'm almost 40. What about my toys? But no, like they said that it's, you know, they look at how kids play with stuff and they try to adapt and kind of work with it. In that front, they got this thing. If you grew up with Episode 1 toys, you might remember like Comtech readers. All the toys came with like little chips that would have sound effects on them. Those chips are now basically built into the figures, and they talk. They make noises and stuff. But you have to buy this thing separately, which is this. It's called a Force Link, and they have these like NFC chips, like Amiibo have in all the toys and the vehicles, and it theoretically makes different noises when you swipe it on there. So we're gonna.
They call me Han Solo.
Yeah.
This better be worth it.
So there's Han Solo talking. This guy actually comes packed in with this thing. So if you want to buy a regular Han Solo figure, you got to buy this thing. Unfortunately, and I thought this would be totally straightforward and normal, but
Firmware update required.
you have to update the firmware to make the action figures talk.
I
So-
actually think that's what one of the droids says in Solo.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see what.
Firmware
Who can
update
forget this
required.
for unforgettable Chewbacca sound effect?
Firmware update required.
If a droid said it, I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. But I don't know.
I think he
Basically-
talks like a human at the beginning of that movie, and then he gets sick in the throat.
So you buy the toys, they come with a thing in it. They're like a little bit more expensive because they have, you know, NFC chips in them, and then you got to buy this thing separately to make them talk. And then you get the thing, you go home, you put the batteries in it,
Firmware update required.
and you're like, Mom, this thing's not working. What do I do? And then you got to go and download the app and then pair it through Bluetooth with this thing, which I couldn't figure out how to do. Like, I'm an adult man. I don't know. Like, I use like I've set up like a Fitbit. You know, I've got like Bluetooth crap in my car. Like, there's stuff that I can figure
Wearing
out how to.
Halloween drapes.
Okay, all right. I'm yelling about toys too, but what do you want? But basically, the whole idea of like toys is like, hey, the kids aren't on their smartphone.
Yeah.
Like, if a kid wants to play like Fortnite or Minecraft or whatever, and the parents are like, here's your iPad, go play. That's awesome and that's fine. But if they're playing with action figures, shouldn't they just play with action figures? But then if they want to play with the action figures with the stupid accessory,
It's frustrating.
you have to use a smartphone app to update it. It's
completely with you.
It goes totally around in circles. So the figures themselves have gotten better. The whole the amount of like sort of extra nonsense that it takes to make something a smart device is just sort of maddening. So there is my that's my weird man-child grandpa rant all over.
The man-paw.
Man-paw. There we go.
Star Wars, Loot Crate. They
Yeah.
have teamed up once again for a brand new box.
Yeah.
This was a May the 4th specialty, which you can still get now. And we're going to open it up because there's some really interesting and cool stuff inside
Yeah.
there.
Now, Brian, I've noticed that you never wear hats.
That's true.
Why
You know
is that?
Because when I do, I look like a child criminal. Oh, hey, what's up, dog? Yo, what's up, y'all? It's me.
You look like a YouTuber. I love it.
How do you do, fellow teens? Yo, what's up? Like, share, subscribe. This is your boy, Big
Can you
B.
unbox this Funko Pop?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so this is the Snow Gear Han Solo that came with the Loot Crate thing.
Does not work on me, right?
It looks terrible. You look really... Oh, this is weird.
There we go.
All right.
There's my squad back there.
They're everyone's wearing hats
Exactly.
now.
Yeah, that's Johnny and Turtle and the rest of my dudes from the Entourage.
The hat looks so big on you. It's weird.
It is
Do you
big
have
on
like
me, Max.
Do you have like a little head or is it
I
a
have
large
a huge
hat?
head. I don't
I
understand.
don't know about that. I think it's like a child-size hat.
No, I have it.
Look at this. Here's the size of my hand next to his. Look at how tiny his head is.
It looks small now.
Look at
See?
his head is so tiny. It's
Okay,
the size
you're
of
a
my
giant-
palm of my
you're a
hand.
giant man.
Look at that. He's got the tiniest head. It's like the size of a small melon, like a little honeydew.
I don't have a small head.
I think you do.
I have a big head.
You could probably fit your head into these Kylo Ren socks. Look at you could squeeze it on there, rob a
I'll
bank.
put him on my ears and I'll look like a dog. There he is. There's that big-headed boy.
could you
Hey,
actually-
everyone.
All right, hold still.
They're never going to send us anything again. So anyway, it's got socks. It's got this wonderful Hoth Gear Han Solo Funko Pop. I've got these. I've got ears like the Goofy now.
Now who looks stupid for wearing Halloween clothing?
All of these available right now on lootcrate.com.
They sent us a Millennium Falcon, and I think the coolest thing in here is there is a wooden R2-D2 model that you can put together. They make those like, they're called like little, I don't know, metal earth or something, and they're those metal model kits that you can just ruin your fingernails with and hurt yourself, but this is a nice soothing wood R2-D2, which makes very little sense. And they also sent us Vader Down #1, which is a great comic run where Vader crashes his car on a planet and has
We
to
talk about
fight
this
a bunch of
keychain
men.
because I like it. I like it a lot.
Who do you think would win in a fight, this keychain or this keychain?
This is actually to scale.
So how many keys do you need? Get it over. Put it over here. You got to put it on the camera. Put it in the video like that.
What's up? It's your boy. Like, share, subscribe. Check me out on youtube.com/smallhead.
You look like you had like a minute and a half to make a Goofy costume.
I look like I had paint for breakfast. So these are available now. These are pretty nice. I'm gonna put these on my feet.
They're pretty. Yeah, they're good.
Regular size feet. You know what I'm talking about?
There's normal size feet that are much larger than the size of your head.
Did you say normal?
Normal, yeah, like the cat from Garfield. Speaking of cats, this is something I've actually been wanting to talk about on the show for a great deal. I realize we do have some younger viewers, so this could be a little bit frightening. We live in a very dangerous and upsetting society. There's a lot of really terrible things out there in the news, but I do think it's important that people stay aware of things. Some images surfaced in Japan of these cats that they're making into weapons.
This is not good.
These, we can see them here. As you can see, they're very modular. They're using technology to give the cats like drone rotors and tank treads and what looks like pulse rifles. And it's very upsetting because I don't know if the cat's really, like the cat is on the Roomba, but it also has like a gun.
Can we talk about the Garfield one in the middle that's just kind of sitting on a metal disc?
Yeah, I think this
that a
metal disc
landmine?
is, I think it's actually probably going to actually put more mines into the soil, which is dangerous for the people walking on it. And
Okay.
It's very bad. Worst of all, though, is the cats have figured out how to build the thing together and make the really big bad one. No, but all seriously, these are just like my favorite new like nonsense Japanese gashapon toys. I go to this website a lot called Hobby Link Japan, which is a Japanese like toy store hobby site. HLJ.com. They didn't pay me to say that or anything. It's just a cool site. But they were selling these. They're called Nikobesu, which means cat weapon, I think. But I just like love that, like there's, they would sell these in like a vending machine in Japan, and you put in 5,000 yen or $5 or whatever, and this would crap out this nonsense cat with a gun on it. Like, why is that a thing? And then you can glue them all together, piece them together and make a modular nightmare weapon cat.
So, like, real talk, Tokyo and Japan in general is really awesome for capsule toy machines. We used to have weird variations of those in the 90s and 80s. They just kind of went away.
We had the sticky hands.
Yeah, they just got replaced
doll.
with like gum and candy and crap like that. Like I want toys for quarters. That's what I want. Bring that back.
I don't know. I also love that here, like American toys, they're like, okay, here's the deal. If we want to make a toy line, we got to have it attached to a proper name brand, a licensing thing. It's got to make sense. You got to have a good elevator pitch for it. You got to have like an app that goes with it or whatever. In Japan, they're like, what if the cat was also the tank? And then there it is. It's just nonsense. There's like there's a whole weird culture of strange gashapon collecting. So
I love these.
If you're into it, that's a thing that exists now.
Let's order them.
I think I pulled these pictures like 3-4 weeks ago when we were having a very slow news week, and I just wanted to talk about the cats.
Well,
so
we finally did it.
we did it. Congratulations.
I wanted to talk about a cat as well.
It's not a cat.
He's actually a Kowakian lizard monkey.
That's better.
And his name is Salacious Crumb.
Yes.
And we love him so because he is a great animal and a good pet to Jabba the Hutt, who is a large frog that sells drugs and kills women.
Yeah. So we did some research into Salacious Crumb. If you're unfamiliar with Salacious B. Crumb, this is what he looks like. You've probably seen him in Return of the Jedi. He makes that noise anytime Jabba says something like that.
It's gross.
And he's horrible. He's really the worst.
But he's one of the few sort of pets in Star Wars. There's not really a lot of pets. I mean, people have droids, they have friends.
No, I don't even know if he
Co-pilots.
counts as.
Yeah, he's a pet.
I don't know if he counts as a pet.
What is he then?
We did some research on this, and a lot of stuff has sort of shuffled around since the can that looks really weird. This is really weird to have that half trans. Can you pick one thing to show? Is it us or is it him or you? Whichever. Any of these. Just stop showing half of the animal. That looks like a nightmare. This thing. So this guy, we don't know if he's like a. If he volunteered, like he didn't answer a Craigslist ad. Apparently,
No.
Bib Fortuna captured him, and the whole deal was he was like.
Okay, all right, enough. We're getting lost. We're getting lost in the back to tank.
He doesn't get paid.
Listen, if you're watching this video and you now know who Salacious Crumb is, and we assume that he is the pet of Jabba the Hutt, I ask you this query: would you have a Salacious Crumb as a pet yourself? There are many options for pets out there. You could get dogs.
He tries to eat the robot's eye.
Dogs try to eat everything in the house. Cats claw at everything.
don't think he's really-
They urinate.
I don't think
inside
he's
the
really
home.
a pet. I think it's kind of
They
more
spray
like.
their weird smells
I mean, he's supposed to be like a court jester.
to show that they're having
There's
sex.
actually, so we dug into this a little bit more. We're doing our hard research here at IGN.com,
Yep.
home of journalism. We found there's a video they put out long before the special edition added that weird CG dance number. They put out an official music video for Lapti Nek, which is the Jabba's Dancers theme song, whatever. And it's basically a Rick James song that's sung in Huttese. It's amazing. You should go look that up. But what's weird is it has deleted scenes in the music video that aren't actually in Return of the Jedi, where Salacious Crumb steals Bib Fortuna's wine and starts drinking his wine.
It's
and
great.
like gagging. Like he puts his little awful beak in the cup and he's like,
You know,
And then he goes-
like a pet would.
yeah.
So would you have Salacious Crumb as a pet? Here's my answer: triumphant, yes. Absolutely, I would, because I think he's great. It's kind of like having a chimpanzee, a dog, and then like a man at the same time that lives with you.
I don't think it's a pet. I think it's more like a tiny slave that laughs.
Would you have him live in your home with you?
Hell no.
Why not?
He's awful. Look. Okay. Do I want this in my home?
Yes.
Hell no.
It's got hands. It can hand you things.
I don't want a pet with hands.
Well, this one looks like it died.
I don't think the second that a thing has thumbs, I don't think it counts as a pet. I don't think that works. I don't like it.
I like it a lot, and I think it's great. Look how it sits obediently, waiting for a good treat, a finger from a woman.
Oh, it's so awful.
Simon said in our IGN chat says, Crumb has to make Java laugh every day or he's put to death.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
know.
Yeah,
That's what I
he's-
was saying. He is not a pet because he negotiated the terms of his ownership, which pets don't do.
He's kind of like a court jester.
What kind of horrible rescue dog is that where Jabba's like, I'm going to adopt this dog, but if it doesn't make me laugh every day, I'm having it put down.
I'm having that dude as a pet.
Take
Check
that
me
hat
out.
off.
YouTube.com/SalaciousBCrumb. Like, share,
Star
subscribe.
Wars.
Star Wars. We're doing it out here.
Yeah, I think
Thanks to all my Salasians and my crumbs.
I was going to talk about how the Westworld producers are working on an adaptation of one of my favorite books by William Gibson, who's a great cyberpunk author. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about Salacious Crumb more.
Yeah, real quick. Who wants the Salacious Crumb as a pet?
So Jabba also has a lot of different hidden pets. Technically, the Rancor is a pet. He also has Bubo the frog dog.
Yeah.
There's the wart that lives out front of Jabba's palace that like sticks his tongue out. And
I don't know if
eats
that's a
that
pet.
thing.
I think that's just like a yard animal. It's
Okay, so he's got a yard animal that hangs out there. If
like a dude that lives on his block.
it's like I've got these feral cats that live in my yard, and they're always like bothering my cat. But like, do I have ownership of those pets because they live on my property? I don't know.
I was at your crib the other day. There was like a skunk and a deer. You got all sorts of
I have
nonsense.
all sorts of wild animals
Yeah.
that hang out there.
You got a
The
whole
skunks-
Jabba's palace.
The skunks live under my neighbor's house. Are those my neighbor's skunks? I don't know. How many of the animals that live in Jabba's palace that aren't like sentient dudes who can live on their own, do they count as pets? There's also that snail that lives above him. There's a snail in Jabba's palace that hangs out like if you watch the movie, it's like right over here. Also, I love that our set is just Jabba's palace.
Yeah, it's super weird. There's just like this upside down snail that like eats people's heads with his tongue.
It's awful.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
We have a few minutes left. I want to give a shout out to somebody. I hope he can come out from the back. Alex Salamita has been with IGN for 6 years now, and he is finally leaving after numerous attempts of all of us to push him out the door. I'm just kidding, though. Alex was here for the start of Up at Noon, which looked like a cable access show.
Like back when
run
it was
by fat people.
back when it was
I was
good
one
with
of
Greg
those
Miller,
fat people. Yeah, the old version of it. Alex has produced pretty much every live show we've ever done. And I just want to give a shout out to him. If he's in the back room, he should come out right now. If not,
He's at his desk because he wanted to stream.
Oh, for
is he
God's
watching
sake.
this? Alex, get over here, dude.
He's not here. That's Alexio.
Also,
Is he
Derek
wa-
is in the back. This is his last step at noon because his last day is tomorrow as well.
Derek.
Everybody's quick. Derek, get out here real quick.
Derek.
Come out here.
Where's Derek? Come here, Derek.
Come here. We have some big goodbyes we have to give.
Oh, weird. I didn't realize the camera. I thought the camera faced the other way. I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Derek, thank you so much for your time here at IGN. Everyone, this is Derek. Come on out. He's leaving. He's
Hey,
a
guys.
dude that can pull off a hat better than I can.
I know maybe you should try this one.
Let's see. You want to trade? Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Better.
So Derek's one of the many people who works behind the scenes at IGN. You edit tons and tons of videos. You've made all of our stuff look great, and it sucks that we're losing you.
Hell yeah.
And
Who's here?
here's Alex.
Well, look who's here.
Here we go.
Look who's here. Alex, you have a hat as well.
Yeah.
Everyone has a hat but Max.
So if you can wear a hat, go to IG. Oh, go Mets.
Go Mets.
This hat smells real weird.
Have you guys announced publicly where you guys are going yet?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not
Well,
yet.
where can they get information from you boys? On Twitter?
Yeah, but follow my dog's Twitter or Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
White Toes Black Nose. If he gets 10,000 followers before Sean Finnegan, Sean said he's going to delete his Instagram.
That's a
so-
good idea.
Oh.
Yeah, let's have a dog beat a man.
A gentleman's wager.
White
I like
Toes
it.
Black Nose.
Okay, so go follow White Toes
Yeah.
Black Nose. It's Alex's dog.
I love you guys so much. One of the highlights of my career here was going to Germany with both of you last year. It was a goddamn blast. You're amazing people to work with. Keep an eye on these boys because they're only doing bigger and better things, just like this hat.
Oh, for God's sake, take that off. You
It's
look
off.
awful. It's horrible.
Thank you all so much for watching. That's Up at Noon for the week. We are gone next week. We are not doing a show because there's a Call of Duty live stream, and there's nothing IGN loves more than Call of Duty. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching, and good night.